Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. In this guide, we'll be going over the two aggressive entry strategies the pro player Sinatraa uses to get more kills and top frag in his games on the map Split in offense. We're gonna be showing clips of Sinatraa's Phoenix and how he uses the character to gain space for his team. Make sure to also come check out our video guide on Phoenix to get extra tips and tricks that might help you dominate in ranked. Now, gaining map control and finding information for your team aggressively early on to the rounds can net you lots of frags and maybe win you games in solo queue. Playing aggressively offensively is pretty risky. You need to have the mechanics and be precise with your aim to be able to execute these plays with high succession. Keep in mind, playing aggressively on offense requires you to be flexible and adaptive at all times. Sinatraa always adapts to changes in situations and fills in gaps where his teammates cannot. Luckily, we'll be breaking down different variations of the same play to give you guys a better idea of Sinatraa's thought process and how he's such an amazing solo queue player. Before we get into that, we're excited to announce our brand new hyper improved platform specifically designed to help you improve fast. At SkillCapped.com, you'll finally learn how to level up your aim, different techniques to win a gunfight, and so much more. We have professional courses on every single agent, map, and mechanic in Valorant. This is backed by the top pros, players, and coaches to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date and accurate info possible. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that we offer a rank improvement guarantee. Check it out yourself in the link below. Simply put in what rank you're currently stuck at and find out what rank you're guaranteed by using our system. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your true potential and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Alright, so jumping into our first strategy, we have a very standard play of Sinatraa going up the middle and taking B heaven. But before we start, we'll show you a default offensive setup for Phoenix and then explain how Sinatraa adapts and deviates from this depending on how the enemy plays. We first start by going mid through market. You request a smoke for vents and peek out once it is smoked. Afterwards, you scale up mid with a molly for vents. Before going into B heaven, have one flash to go up the stairs. Make sure to clear this right corner. Clear the left side of heaven and then flash one more time to clear heaven entirely. Make sure to hold CT because you have only one utility left for flex usage. Remember, the goal of an entry is to escort your team safely onto the site. When you have no utility, it is okay to acquire information by taking fights and possibly dying. Alright, now back to Sinatraa's play. Let's start with his first clip. Let's start off by analyzing the minimap right now. We can see Phoenix, Killjoy, and Omen are around the mid area with Raze lurking around B and Breach lurking around A. The goal of this setup is to take control of mid. In the map Split, mid control is one of the most important aspects of offense due to its fast rotates through the middle section of the map. If the offense were to cut off the rotate, the defenders are forced to rotate the long way and be forced to play post-plant. Sinatraa actually decides to come from the sewer side, which is rather unconventional. It runs the risk of being shot from B heaven. Regardless though, he waits for the smoke to bloom from Omen and ropes and peeks out. He jiggles to try to bait any operator shots and decides to swing out afterwards. Sinatraa is very careful about all the hazards that come with playing the entry role and knows the difference between dying for information and dying without a purpose. If he were to be shot by an operator at that moment, he would have given his team no information and caused a 4v5 right off the bat. The Omen smoke was a little shallow, which can allow the enemy to hide inside it or behind the box in front of vents. Sinatraa pre-fires the smoke without any luck. Doesn't hurt to try though. As discussed before in the default play earlier, Sinatraa throws a molly to ensure they don't push out of vents while Sinatraa goes up B heaven. Following this up with a flash and peek, we see a full blind Phoenix get fragged out easily. Avoiding the Raze grenade afterwards, Sinatraa must push further and create more space for his team. He flashes into B heaven and attempts to push forward, but is stopped by an Omen flash. After regaining sight, the only option is to push forward, so Sinatraa holds CT for a moment, just enough to have his teammates catch up to him for a potential trade. Now let's pause and look at the minimap for a moment. We can see that Raze is pushed up and about to come out of garage. This allows Sinatraa to lead his team and push into site aggressively for information. Even if Sinatraa were to die, his team is right behind him. If the enemies were to take their attentions at mid, the Raze would be able to flank them with the information given by Sinatraa's presence. Let's resume the clip. Sinatraa decides to man mode into hell and clear out that area for his team. The reason why he is so confident is because even if he were to die, it would give enough information for his team to trade him off and take the site. He gets a frag on Raze, which is a bonus overall. A molly is thrown into CT afterwards because that is the only place other than Heaven they can rotate from, and anything Sinatraa does at this point is just icing on the cake. Again, his role is to escort his team safely for a bomb plant, and that's already been accomplished. Let's see another variation where Sinatraa pushes up B Heaven. At the start, we can see in the minimap that we've got a similar setup as last time, but instead, the Killjoy is lurking on A and the Raze is lurking at B. The Breach is making his way to B, but is late for anything that will happen on the map. This time, Omen does not smoke for Sinatraa, and they have opted for a potential raw gun duel against the enemy. He crosses the market side to try and clear the enemies in ropes. An arrow indicates Sova is in vents, which results in pre-fires pelting the doorframe. While that is happening, a pick on B has occurred. Watch how Sinatraa adapts to that. The molly comes down to stop Sova from pushing forward, as Sinatraa tries to gain space and run up the stairs at Heaven. A flash comes out, but nobody is spotted peeking. Standard entry utility usage so far. A Raze grenade stops the advance for a moment, but just as Sinatraa is about to flash and push her, he hears the infamous Raze ult. He quickly backs out and into mid, cautious about ropes and pre-aiming it just in case anybody decides to rotate from A to B. So now before we continue, why do you think Sinatraa isn't pushing onto site? If you thought it's because his team is already on site, then you're correct. Sinatraa's job is technically done in the sense that he doesn't have to enter anymore. He is now adapting to the situation and becoming a lurk for his team to maximize his current positioning in middle. We know for a fact that since all of B is clear, there could only be 3 places the enemy can come from, either CT, B Heaven, or ropes. Since Sinatraa already had info on the Sova in ropes earlier, it is safe to assume he's going to either rotate around to CT or come back through middle. And what do you know, he peeks out and instantly gets fragged out by an off-angle Sinatraa. So from the first clip, we can see a very standard entry and execution, but when deviations happen during the round, Sinatraa shows awareness of the map and adapts from an entry to a lurk. These are huge takeaways from these 2 clips, which you should be always thinking about while you're playing ranked. In the last clip, we'll show you how chaotic entrying can be, but overall, the fundamental and objectives are still the same. Escorting the team safely into the bomb site and using your body to get information when your utility is all used up. We start off the clip with Sinatraa W-keying into mid and throwing a molly at B Heaven right away. Let's pause this for a moment and understand where his teammates are right now. There's 1 Raze going into B garage and 4 players, including Sinatraa himself, in mid, clumped up like a giant death ball. W-keying into the enemy in this situation is the most ideal because if the entry dies, he gets traded out 90% of the time due to his teammates being right behind him. If you look at the options, let's say the enemy swings out of the smoke, his teammates would kill him 100% of the time. The only thing that can happen is if the enemy peeks out B Heaven and jiggles a shot which Sinatraa has covered with the molly that he threw. Regardless though, the 2 options mentioned just now aren't really good ones either. It's basically a 1-for-1 at best trade, and that's not always the ideal play for defense. After the flash for Heaven, we see 2 utilities used which signals at least 2 people in Heaven. We see the Raze boombot out along with the Cypher cage that is being thrown. This confirms 2 people inside of Heaven at the moment, which can either drop to hell or go to CT. A Raze nade forces Sinatraa to fall back for a moment, and then he goes back in right away because the Brim has already fallen. Trading in this situation would be ideal because of the time frame of which Brim died and the amount of people that have Sinatraa's back, just in case he loses the fight. He unfortunately misses the shots on the Cypher and decides to back up to use another utility before re-peeking. The firewall goes up to allow his team to get into hell with cover at the same time. This also enables Sinatraa to come out of any angle possible to attack the Cypher and Raze. He only gets 1 of them before backing up from an ally Killjoy Nano Swarm. Because Killjoy and Reyna have already dropped to hell, Sinatraa follows their pace and pushes forward into rafters to find another angle to cover on site. He knows 1 is pillar because of the Reyna contact, but unfortunately gets fragged out by Raze, which wrapped from B Heaven to CT. This round had a lot of chaos due to the high pacing both teams were playing at. But notice how even though Sinatraa was not the entry, he kept up to pace with his teammates who pushed forward without him. It is always a good idea to keep in mind your teammates' pace and match them if they are willing to entry fast. Letting them go by themselves might actually be irresponsible on your part, considering they've cleared the area and might require a trade afterwards. At the end of the day, fast pacing makes fast map control, which is always a good thing. Again, the fundamentals of assisting the team and onto the site is not forgotten, and Sinatraa still fulfills the job amongst the chaos. Alright, so Phoenix is very strong at taking middle of split, because normally there are no anchoring sentinels like Cypher or Killjoy that play that area. Since Sage is out of the meta, Phoenix is one of the strongest characters in taking map control at mid right now. Here's another area that Phoenix excels in for pushing forward. So for this clip, Sinatraa actually groups together with the team late for the A push. If you look at the team's current positioning, we see that the Raze is going mid for the lurk and the rest of the team is going to death ball into A. Since going on site wasn't an option due to Viper Wall, the team decides to go up ramps and we can see Phoenix's strengths come in. Sinatraa flashes in and clears into this corner here and confidently aims at rafters. One utility allows Sinatraa to get into such an advantageous position already. Now before we continue, why do you think Sinatraa is so confident that the enemy is at rafters and that's all he's aiming at? If you guys thought that it was because of the Raze, then that's correct. Since Raze is in middle watching the flank push, Sinatraa is confident that he only needs to clear rafters and CT. Now the reason he's not even staring at CT is because his teammates are actually covering it behind him. If the enemies were to swing out and try to kill Sinatraa, his teammates would be shooting at them, forcing the enemy to split focus. Let's continue the clip. He gets an easy frag on rafters and instantly gets naded out by the Raze from CT. Sinatraa decides to duel the Raze but unfortunately misses. He uses a molly to prevent her from pushing into him while he reloads. After a flash, Sinatraa decides to wide swing into a blind Raze but unfortunately gets fragged out. His team actually left him for way too long and should have pushed up while the information on the Raze's location was given.
I'm literally, I shoot a full ass clip of this guy, reload, throw a molly down, throw a flash out, and still, by the time all that is happening, still nobody trades.
While the molly was down, there shouldn't be any reason the team is still not in heaven. But sometimes it's solo queue and things like this happen because of miscommunication. As you can see, the plays Sinatraa makes all depend on different situations that happen around him. Sometimes you don't need to always be the entry as Phoenix. It's good to know when you have a good position where you get lots of information, or even better, a couple of frags to help win the round for your team. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com in the link in the description below. Alright, so let us know in the comment section below which part of the map on Split you have most success on playing aggressively in. And while you're down there, leave a like and hit that subscribe button with bells on to get more premium guides that help you improve. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.